Hi, I'm Marcelo Madruga, and I lead the technology and platform team for Nokia Core Networks. Welcome to our Nokia Core Talk. And I'm pleased to welcome Jochen Bockfeld, Vice President of Common Service at Telefónica Germany, to our talk. Welcome, Jochen.
Thank you, Marcelo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Telefónica is known to be one of the leading integrated telecommunication providers in Germany, with more than 44 million mobile subscribers and 2 to 3 million broadband lines offering mobile and fixed network service for private and business customers. So, Jochen, we'll be working together to bring our 4G and 5G core into the cloud. My first question is, what do you expect new issues that the new core will solve, and what benefits do you expect to gain with that?
When I look at today's challenges, one of the biggest challenges is flexibility that we have. Giving an example, if we talk to customers and they would like to try out a new feature, a new service, it takes us quite some time in order to provide them a solution today on which they can run the service. And this is usually time that we lost in attracting the customer and also providing and serving the customer. So therefore, cloud solutions definitely will help in order to deploy much faster a solution that we can bring to the customer. The intention is to do this in days, and then they would be able to also play around and try out what would work best for them. So it's really an enabler for our customers. We serve it with more flexibility, and for them it's that they have immediate the possibility to try out and play around, and from that we will also learn. And I think that's the next aspect, learning from the customer what do they really need, and then being able to adapt to this one. So therefore, flexibility and adapting to the customer's needs, I think these are the two big topics that we will be able to solve with the new core solution.
All right.
So Marcelo, let me ask you back a question. When we look at the challenges that we see from the operator side, what are the challenges that you see with the multi-cloud deployment? What are the things and the work that you need to be done or that you need to do with a Nokia in order to be really ready to run the core network on the public cloud?
All right. Yeah, that's a big question. So back to your answer, I mean, we want to offer that agility that you're looking for, flexibility looking. So part of our Nokia job is our any cloud strategy, where we really design our cloud native products, validate so they can work in multiple types of cloud. So that itself is a very big task that we started 2-3 years ago, but we are in the position that our products is really supporting multiple clouds. So what we want to do is that we provide the reference architecture. So, and how to design the network that, because the clouds are different, so each of you have your needs, other customers different needs, so we need to build that network together. But precondition that we need to know that, look, Nokia applications can run on any cloud, and then it includes as well the public cloud. Now, after we've done our job in Nokia, there's a second piece of that, which is that what is the cloud provider job here? So because we know that telco workloads are different than the regular IT workloads. So it's not only adapting our application side, but we need to make sure that our cloud providers understand our requirements, that we do is set our requirements for a core network, and then as well yourself, what the requirements from running a network point of view, so that they adapt the infrastructure to support the telco workloads. At the end of the day, provide the service that you want, but still keep the telco carrier grade features there, right? So we want the cloud provider as well to be a partner with us, with 3 of us, to design networks. So we make sure that we define a carrier grade solution into putting all these things together.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now the same question to you, because we build the product, we make it ready. Now, what are the challenges that you anticipate when you're able to run the core or your network in a public cloud environment?
Good question. Being now in the process for quite some time on thinking how we can bring the core network that we have today, which is built on dedicated hardware, operated by a team which is skilled up for many, many years on this one, and it's all in one hand responsibility, moving into a distributed responsibility. And I liked your point before of saying we need to become partners, because I think that's exactly the point. It's not just the 2 of us, like have been in the past or has been in the past, operating and managing the stability of the solution. And this is what, in the end, what we're aiming for, providing a network which is reliable for our customers, for our 45 million customers. So we need to team up and partner up. Therefore, when we look at the cloud journey for the core network, and it's not just only for the packet core, it's for the entire 5G core network, we are looking at 4 areas. One is the technical capability, and I think we have done quite a good job the past years on working on the technical aspects. So there's no question on our side or in the market that I see that technically it's not working. I think this is a tick in the box. Then we started working also some time back on the data privacy topic and the data sovereignty topic. Also here we made really good progress on this one. So therefore, I'm quite confident that with the solutions, the ideas, the roadmaps that we have defined, that we have agreed upon, we are able to run these kind of applications in the cloud. The third point is then on the TCO. For sure, it also needs to work out on the TCO, and there are multiple aspects playing in. It's not just the pure cost of the application, it's also the way how we operate, how we run it, how we procure the underlying cloud infrastructure, how do we integrate all this into our existing landscape. And the third one, as you mentioned, it's the operational concept. And this is all about who is doing what and who is responsible for what. So therefore, looking at the challenges, I would say these are the 4 challenges that we see. We are quite on a quite good way with all those topics in order to close them and then really move into the commercial use for a couple of million of customers. Right now, we are doing the first steps for a couple of 100,000 customers in public cloud, and we are learning a lot out of that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, we have to step up together, all the parties, and to make it happen, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned about all the core. Let's talk a bit about SDM. And you mentioned a little about that. So SDM is a very important part on the core. But there's also has a lot of data information. So now that you're going to put that on a public cloud, so how do you ensure that data sovereignty, privacy for the customers, that is still protected in you, which is a very important topic across the globe. So how you protect the data of the customers in the country?
A very crucial question. So SDM, it's the core of the core. Yeah. So we have to be really sensitive when it comes to data privacy, data sovereignty, or security, and all those aspects. When we look at how do we manage today's application, it's we have integrated them into our network with a security concept that really protects it from the outside, so that connectivity from the outside is not possible, or it's via different steps. This will be the same in the public cloud. But in the public cloud, you have different problems that you need to solve, because in the public cloud, it's not just enough to have the different security zone concepts implemented. You also need to make sure that nobody is able in the cloud to access the data that we put in the cloud. And therefore, encryption will play a key role in the cloud. And this is one of the big discussions we have with the cloud hyperscalers, and they're really keen on understanding what needs do we have and also providing solutions. It's amazing to see how fast they turn around and come up with solutions once we put a new requirement on the table. On the other hand, we are in talks with the authorities in order to understand what do they need, what do we require in order to fulfill the laws and the rights. And I think this will be an ongoing process. For the moment, I would say that we have quite good ideas and solutions defined and in place on how to encrypt the different kind of data, so data in transit, data in rest, the stored data. How do we manage the keys for the encryption? So there's quite some work done. Nonetheless, it remains an area of attention because this is not just a pure technology play. It's also a question of who is able to access the data and who is by law and forcing to be able to access the data. So therefore, it remains an area that we will closely work on and that we continuously also spend efforts in order to make sure that the data of our customers is as secure, even not more secure than it is today.
So Jochen, let's change subject and talk a little bit about monetization, which is the important thing what we do with the 5G network, right? So we have a lot of discussion with our customers, which are the 5G use cases that are more promising services. So which of them do you think is more interesting for you and for Telefónica?
Excellent question and a difficult one, to be honest, because it's like looking for what is the next killer app, as we usually say, after SMS that we had many, many years back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking at 5G, and indeed 5G, the promise is that there is more in than just connectivity. for the customers. I think aspects like latency will become more critical. We have just recently seen that one of the famous device manufacturers launched a new VR glasses. And I think that's a promising approach because seeing that also the big players pick up on this one and start changing the interaction of a human with a computer, with the devices, I think this is really what will unleash the potential of 5G. What exactly will be the use case coming out of it, it's hard to say. I think this is important to start being part of this discussion and also interacting with customers, with potential users of it, to see what do they need. When you ask me about concrete use cases from our operator perspective, definitely low latency is something we see from discussion with our customers. It starts out of the engagements that we have around network slicing. So customers reach out to us and asking, can we try out and pilot a network slicing? How does it impact or how does it help us in order to bring down latency? So that's definitely one of it. The other aspect is for use cases where you need a kind of guaranteed bit rate, like, for example, a video surveillance use case or whatever. They ask for a possibility to make sure that in this moment they need the transmission of the video, that they have the data. So therefore, there are a couple of use cases. But if you ask me, this is just a start. So that's what we can imagine today. If we really change the interaction of human with devices, I think this will unleash much, much more potential and use cases that will help also to leverage the 5G capabilities that we have. And 5G SA, I think this is the first time it's really defined from the device to the service, how specific service or characteristics can be defined and can be also provided to the customers.
All right.
Let me ask you back, what is the view of Nokia on this one? So I guess you are talking to customers worldwide on the same topic, also being engaged with customers on implementing 5G SA implementations. What is your feedback from other customers? What are the most interesting use cases you see around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Nokia, we have over 120 5G SA things ongoing. And I have to say that it varies from region to region and for customer to customer, CSP to CSP. So all of them started a little bit in the similar way. I mean, first driving the fixed wire access that started and now start to get pick up momentum. So we see more happening there. So that's clear a use case that 5G SA addressed that. So some of the other markets which target to start with 5G core deployment to address the enterprise, they either do on a private wireless approach or even with a local breakouts to give the enterprise a technical connection towards the internet. So this has picked up quite a lot in a few of the regions. But I agree with you. I mean, so one of the vendor announced is AR/VR, and we see as well the UE vendors to start picking up more slicing. So actually we see now getting more proof of concept into the slicing as a core. So they want to, even for the consumer, now you can have potential slice on your device that has your work-related applications and your private application with different categories using the slices, not only enterprise, but the consumers will pick up. So we see more momentum get up on the slicing. I think on the low latency applications, I think we're still about to find the first one to drive. There's a lot of promise behind, but we need to find a few of them who drive that need for the low latency very clearly, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't come for free, right? So the low latency discussion is also closely linked to our edge strategy. And also how do we serve from the edge the service to the customer. So there's much, much more behind.
Yeah, there's much more value to provide a better connectivity, right, with the low latency and the application.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks for your view.
Yeah. So Jochen, you're considered a bit of a visionary industry expert. So let me ask you your opinion in the near and not so near future of which technology do you think we'll be talking about in our industry and will be important?
Good question. Let me start with the not so near future part.
Right.
Because this is the visionary part, and sometimes you have to have a vision in order to bring it down of what concrete topics you need to do next. So when we talk about not the so near future, we have to change a bit the perspective. And I mentioned before, changing the way of how we communicate devices and humans. And I think this is the starting point that we have to look at. Also the discussion around metaverse and stuff like that. It's quite futuristic if you talk about it and somebody is not into it day to day. What do they mean? What is the way of how we communicate in the future? But I think we have to put ourselves in this perspective and think about what are the capabilities that we need to deliver and we need to provide as an industry in order to support this journey. It will not be us as an operator providing a metaverse for the customers, most likely, but it will be us enabling customers going there because we are providing the connectivity and we are providing the enablers for going there. So therefore, my starting point is what do we, or what can we imagine a communication would look like in 10, 15 years when you have all these metaverse conversations possible and clubbing in AI technologies and stuff like that. So this kind of thinking is what drives me in order to reflect and think what are the things that we need to provide for that. And then we come to the more near-term future. My motivation is then to think about what enablers do I need to provide. And when I look at my day-to-day business, I'm busy with 90% of my budget and time in order to maintain the SS, to scale up the network, to provide the customer needs. This is where we gain the money from today. But the 10% of my time I spend, it's exactly for these topics in order to see what is the next thing that we have to start. And we started, for example, the 5G SA implementation 2 years before really the market demand was there, because I know it is needed. And same thing we are doing now. I'm now thinking about what do we need in the space of APIs. And it's just the early stage that we are all in as an industry, but talking to the customers, to the industry, and understanding what is their problem that we need to solve. I think this is what is leading us to what are the things that we need to provide. So if you ask me the concrete things, we need to prepare ourselves for a completely different way of how we communicate in the future. We as individuals in virtual rooms and hybrid rooms, but also we interact with devices because this will completely change. And think about the car industry. If we interact in a completely different way than just touching the steering wheel and looking at the meter, what speed we are driving, if we have different technologies. And I think this is quite some futuristic stuff, but we will see something becoming reality. The AR VR stuff, for example, it's something I try out at the moment and think about how can I use it for my team to meet in an all stuff, for example. Just to get everyone a bit more familiar with that and trigger the thinking of what else could be needed. Because only if you start using it, only if you start experimenting a bit with that, you will understand better what is next, what is required. Yeah. Maybe a question back to you. What are the emerging technologies that you see at Nokia for the short term, but also for the long term?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you answered pretty well in the beginning, so we need to establish a vision. And I think one thing that you mentioned is that, okay, so we as Nokia providing the technology, so what are the enablers that we have to build into our products, into the networks to allow those use cases to happen? I mean, clearly AR, VR will pick up something. We need to figure out exactly what would the use case. But for that, we have to have the network ready, multiple networks. And I think one thing that's making the change to happen faster, perhaps, is now with ChatGPT and generative AI. So it can be used to explain the use case you have, right? Yeah. And all this generative AI, the way that we interact with the things are really interesting. If you see some years ago, you could talk with Alexa or some other thing. Now you can interact by text. So imagine what can come up, right? So clearly the AI has been always in the talk, but always very specific use cases. But now I think with the large language models and generative AI, we can really drive the thing forward. That's one thing. So from the network point of view, with all this new traffic coming up, all these capabilities, so you have to continue evolving on the automation. Right, automation, and you imagine you have a bunch of networks and have deploy all these use cases. So you have to invest even further in automation. Automation is a big word, of course, but I think we're going to have to realize that, look, automation needs to happen in a bit of pieces everywhere. So that's why you go to everything to intent-based stuff, because you have intent to do something. How you do it, it depends on the situation, but at least the intent is the key there. And then automation needs to be used by everyone. So low-code environments, all the APIs capability need to be there so people can build on top of that. I think we need to stop looking at automation to one single stuff, but capabilities that we are building, someone else can use that to make even network better, application better, and so on and so forth, right? And if you go a little bit further, you know, in 2030, we're going to have a 6G already, right? So we start with 5G advanced, but we have a 6G. And hopefully the 6G will be evolution because we are carrying on this momentum of growing. And you end up having network of networks. Then you're going to see, you see now that private networks start to pick it up. You have the public net, the private network. Then maybe we're going to have the non-terrestrial networks and how we mesh that team together. Because at the end of the day, those networks need to talk with each other.
Yeah.
Right? And that's to be an evolution that will drive that. So because you have to drive low latency everywhere, those networks need to talk with each other in a very, very efficient way. So I think we're seeing that a lot of enablers that we can create. So hopefully someone will pick up that one and build a few key applications that allow us to interact with the devices differently, different use cases. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity around that as long as we're able to build that capabilities on the network. I think it'll be fun.
Cool. Thanks a lot for the answer, and fully agree that there are so many potential capabilities out there, and therefore the interaction with the customers, with the enterprises, with the users, I think this is of key importance so that we really understand. Because as telco industry, we are good in building capabilities and say, listen, this is what we've built for you. Please try and use it. But then we realize, it's maybe not the customer's intent or it's not solving a customer problem. Right. So therefore, this is a good point that you mentioned on building these capabilities by understanding better what the customer really wants and really needs.
And then gives the agility, right? Because then you will learn, because we're going to have to learn faster.
Yeah.
As the things goes, the technology, we're going to have to learn faster, right? That's the key.
Cool. Thank you.
So, okay. So, Jochen, one last question to you. So we are embarking on this exciting journey together to deploy the 4G core on the cloud. So what we, Nokia team, can do to smoothen your transition to a cloud deployment and environment?
I have a two-sided answer to this question. The first one is, let's focus, as we have done the past years, on delivering what we need to deliver to our customers today, because we have a large customer base that we are operating day to day, 45 million customers in mobile, 2.3 in fixed, you mentioned it in the beginning. So that's really a big task that we have day to day on managing this one. And if we don't manage this, we don't have the capabilities, the time in order to transform. So this is giving us the playground or the time in order to focus on the transition. When it comes to transforming into the future and transforming into the cloud, I think the biggest support that we can give to each of us is the close collaboration. So it's a close collaboration between the two of us, the hyperscalers, as well as the customers. We should never forget about the customers in all the equation, so that we are doing the right things for the customers. Because in the end, the purpose why we are operating a network is selling and providing a network service to our customers, providing connectivity. And we have all seen during the past years how the importance of connectivity increased, not just for the human-to-human interaction and connectivity, but also for the machines that we connect. So therefore, the big step forward in the transition is, let's move into cloud, let's start understanding the use cases, build the additional enablers capabilities we talked about before, and the close collaboration on this area, that would be key for me. And I'm pretty sure that we will collaborate on this one very closely in order to build something which is of value for a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to partner with you and your support providers so that we can make the things happen.
Thanks a lot.
So, Jochen, thank you very much for this open discussion. I'm looking forward to continue collaborating with you and your team. It has been amazing so far. We all support here to help you your next journey to moving the things to the cloud, and hope to help explore further ideas in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcelo. Really enjoyed the talk.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.